Those are not condoms. I love it. That's fine.
Oh, you're leaving me. Thank you, Bill. What's so damn funny? I'm an addict named Marty, and it's not my fault. I'd like to welcome you all to the Hyatt Regency Convention. Not anymore. How many people have heard me share before or hearing me for the first time? Oh, thank you. I love a codependent. We have any drug addicts here tonight? Alcoholic addicts? Chemically dependent? Cross-addicted? Dual-addicted? Drug abusers? Well, for all you that think you already know what you're talking about, who said, yay, when I said any drug addicts, I'd like to read you a little something. Comes from the basic text of Narcotics Anonymous. There's been over 1 million sold and under 300 read, and you just proved it. It says in this text that the 12 steps of Narcotics Anonymous, as adapted from AA, are the basis of our recovery program. We've only broadened their perspective. We follow the same path with a single exception. Our identification as addicts is all-inclusive with respect to any mood-changing, mind-altering substance. Alcoholism is too limited of a term for us. Our problem is not a specific substance. It is a disease called addiction. We believe that as a fellowship we have been guided by a greater consciousness and are grateful for the direction that has enabled us to build upon a proven program of recovery. And what that simply means is we're all addicts, no matter what the drug of choice. So if you think you're different because you think you're a heroin addict, or you huffed a little glue, or all you did was drink Tennessee sipping whiskey, you're just full of shit. You're just simply an addict. The only time the drug of choice is important is when you detox. And if you don't have any insurance, you're probably fucked out of doing that. What got me here? I was walking down the street one day, smoking a joint. A seed popped. It scared the fuck out of me. I rushed right down to Narcotics Anonymous and never left. And if that would have really been the true case, I wouldn't be as brain dead as I am. I wish it was that simple. I got high because it made me feel like I thought everybody else felt all the time. That's the only reason I can imagine that I ever picked up. I just wanted to be like you. I just wanted to feel like you felt. And after I got high, I really gave a shit how you felt. It wasn't important anymore. The only thing that was important is what you had and how I could get it. And thanks for letting me share. I don't know why, but I'm nervous. It's not the first time. I've been nervous before. Everybody come here. A lot of us think that our stories are different than everybody else's, and they're really not. Where we may have been doing it may have been different, but inside it was all the same. Whether that be Vietnam, whether that be Hill Avenue out here, wherever it may be, that loneliness that we all know is all the same. I grew up in a home that's real hard to describe. There was a lot of love in my home. There was a lot of pain in my home. My father was an addict. As far as I can remember, every brother and sister he had were addicts. So therefore, it's not my fault, it's my parents. And I'm suing them. I 12-stepped my father. He had 11 years of recovery and another fellowship before he died. We had the opportunity to build a healthy, loving relationship that I never thought was possible. You never know what you really feel until you can't reach out and touch and share that feeling anymore. This is the first convention in a little over 19 and a half years since I've been clean that I've spoke at that my mother is sitting at the table with us. My youngest brother and his wife drove up from Nashville to share this moment. And he's never been to an NA convention. He doesn't know I'm going to try and borrow money from him afterwards, but he has a full-time job. Y'all have never done that, right? I spent 4 years in the 7th and 8th grade. They thought I was going to make a career out of it, so they asked me to leave. The first time I got high, I was like 13 years old. And that was on Old Brown whiskey. I knew that drugs were bad stuff. I didn't know alcohol was a drug. I thought it was okay to drink, and if you wanted to be a man, you had to drink, and that's how you got black hair. And one time I drank, and I kept it all down. And I'd been trying for a long time because I'd drink it a little and puke, and drink a little and puke, and I knew I wouldn't make it. And one time I got it all down, and it stayed down. Black, shiny, wavy hair started growing out of my head. I grew about 3 feet taller, pimples drop off my face by the pounds, and something between my legs grew about that long. And I wanted to share it with anybody. It didn't matter whether you walked, crawled, or barked. I just was a sharing person. That's not funny. But I love it when people identify. Then you don't feel so all alone. When I was 17 years old, my father signed for me to go into the military. And I was glad to go. When I was 18, I landed in Vietnam. It's the first time that I ever did anything besides alcohol. And we smoked some of this stuff for hours. And I got up to leave and somebody had stole my legs. And I found something. I found a new grip on life. I didn't puke when I was done. I didn't get angry while I was doing it. And I just felt wonderful. And I tried to continue to get that feeling from then at 18 years old until I was 25, and I never recaptured it again. I spent 2 years in Nam getting messed up. Not everyone that went to Vietnam did drugs. A lot of people think, oh, you're in Vietnam, you're a drug addict. No, I was an addict, and I just happened to do drugs. I was a scared little kid. I was a frightened, far, far from home, very lonely kid. And the only thing I knew to do was what the other people were doing, and that's get high. Bill was talking about the wall, and in 1967, 69, there was a guy in Vietnam with me named Ole. And Ole and I got high every day. And every day, every night, every morning, we'd wake up or come to, and we'd say, not again. If I pick up, shoot me. And one of us would pick up and the other one would say, give me some. And we couldn't stop. We did many things to many people. Personal belongings, material things. We abused the privilege of life, period. Years later, I went to my first meeting in Narcotics Anonymous on January the 1st in 1973. It was a meeting in Dallas, Texas in a little Unity church. There was 4 people in the meeting, and it was a meeting about sex. I know it was because everybody was telling each other to go fuck themselves. And that was spiritual back then. I've had people come up to me. There was a young lady that came up to me a little almost a year ago that I hadn't seen in meetings in a long time. And I said, where have you been? She says, well, I don't come to NA that much anymore. I got saved. I said, from yourself? She says, well, I really don't care to come around NA anymore because I don't really like it when people use profanity. I said, oh, so what you're really telling me is you forgot where the fuck you came from. I still use some profanity. You may not like me. I don't sleep with you. It's not important whether you like me or not. It's important that I saved my ass in Narcotics Anonymous, period. I went to a meeting one time in Richmond, Virginia, and I was sitting in the meeting. I'm a little weird and spacey, and because that's the way I am, and I'm looking around the walls in this church, and there was these pictures of somebody who was supposed to have been here a long time ago. And I was sitting there, and they asked me to share, and I'm still looking at those pictures, and I just, off the top of my head, I said, I really don't think they had cameras back then. And I came to the meeting the next week, and this young lady and guy who happened to be running the meeting, who's in a relationship, said, the meeting tonight's going to be on unity and resentments. I said, well, that's special. Unity and resentments, very close topic. And the girl says, yes, and I would like to say that last week I brought a newcomer to this meeting, and it happened to be somebody that had been in recovery 3 years in another fellowship. And somebody that's in this room tonight made fun of Jesus Christ and used the F word. And it makes me mad as shit when people use the F word in a meeting. And so I shared after her because I'm that way. I said, I know how you feel. Makes me mad as a motherfucker when people use the S word. I'm not here because I've got it all together. I'm here because I don't. And I damn sure ain't gonna get it together when you come up and tell me how I gotta be. That ain't Narcotics Anonymous. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop using. It doesn't matter who my higher power is. It's none of your business. I go to meetings and people have to share before they talk. I'd like to thank my higher power, who I choose to call. Blah, 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 blah. Thank you. I feel less than now. I don't have the same one. If your higher power is the Lord Jesus Christ, you're welcome in Narcotics Anonymous. If your higher power is not the Lord Jesus Christ, you're welcome in Narcotics Anonymous. If you think you're Jesus Christ, you're welcome in Narcotics Anonymous. My family never did anything to me to make me use. I'm glad there's programs for codependency, because for me it's a very scary thought to think of some codependent person walking down my street when I'm using, breaking into my house, cleaning it up, paying my bills. It's terrifying. We need to get those people off the street. I grew up never feeling like I belonged anywhere. I know I belong here. I have been everywhere else. This is the only place nobody can run me out of. And many people have tried. There are people, and I don't want this to leave this room. There are people in my area that don't love me. I know it's hard to believe, but it's true. I was sitting over there earlier before I got up trying to get myself together and trying to get centered, and all I could get was self-centered. And that's because I'm the speaker. Shut up. Jesus Christ. It was only a small little joke, and I never carried a gun in the streets like Steve. I wasn't as tall as him. I never carried a gun in a meeting. I carried enough guns in Vietnam. I never hoped to ever in my life touch another one. I know people in my area that carry guns to meetings. It's for their protection. They might look at somebody funny, and they might get mad. And heaven knows you need a gun when that happens. I believe when it's my time to go, I'm history, pal. And I'm really not worried about it. Dying does not scare me today, because I've learned how to live. You people taught me that. I hear people come into meetings and they say, well, I know I can't use again because damn if I do, I'll die. Damn, how do you do that? If I knew I could use and die, that would have been a gift to me years ago. I'm not that fortunate. But using and living in that hell I lived in from the first time I picked up, that scares me. That ultimately terrifies me. I won't be able to hug my wife at night and kiss my kids and call my mother on the phone and talk to my brothers and see you people. You people taught me what it's like to enjoy life. I was listening to Tuffy the other day share, and he says, I came to my first meeting and I had fun and I'm still having it. And he did a lot of acid. He's married, he's got 3 kids, he's raising goats, and he's happy. This program works. You people taught me how to give away what you so freely gave me. I had nothing before I came here. I didn't know how to love, I didn't know how to be loved, I didn't know how to work. Still don't. 4-letter word. The only one I hate hearing in meetings. I have been clean almost 20 years. I have had more than 20 jobs. I'm not a very good employee. I'm a damn good quitter, though. And I've quit everything except Narcotics Anonymous, because this is all I've got. I sit in meetings and I hear people and they say, my electric had just cut off, and here I am with the most clean time in the room, and this schmuck is sitting on the other side of the room who's had the same job ever since he got out of high school. I guess that seed popped and scared him, and he came right down. And he sits in there and he says, I no longer have to run to the electric company to pay my bill. My electric hasn't been cut off since I got clean. I said, well, check you out. I no longer have to run to the phone company. My bills are paid on time today because I'm a responsible, productive member of society. And so I shared, because I do. I said, I'm very impressed. And I just want you to know, if and when you lose that job, because shit happens, we'll still love you. And if your electric gets cut off, give me a call. I might bring you over a candle or two. Because there aren't any guarantees. Nobody has a monopoly on Narcotics Anonymous, especially me. Therefore, none of us are immune to anything. And sometimes, even me, I know it's hard to believe, we become so self-righteous with what we think. Well, I got it together and they don't. Stupid ass. If he just worked the steps. Hell, I've worked the steps and everything went to shit. And I've not worked the steps and everything got great. And I've worked the steps and everything got great. And life is still just life. My higher power is not responsible. You know, everybody says, well, I guess it's God's will. Yeah, that's why I smacked my boss. Sorry, it was God's will. I don't know how to deal with my feelings sometimes. And it doesn't matter, just because you've been clean over 3 years, because that's when you think you're God. Just because you've been clean over 3 years or 30 days doesn't mean that it automatically comes together. Marriages happen, relationships happen, divorces happen, you lose jobs, people die. This is a real world we live in, and sometimes we think, and I see people in the meetings sometimes that are so spiritual, it just makes me want to vomit. What do they do at home? Do they shit? Do they ever have a bad day? I do. When I do, I tell you about it. I ain't afraid to tell you about it. And God, when you got some time, when you go in a meeting and you tell people, this is what's going on with me, and I could use a little help, everybody like, and you can hear him at Denny's. That dude's got 20 years, man. He's all fucked up. I told you that. Like you're going to go to Denny's and say something new. I'm impressed. I ain't worried about people talking about me. If there's not a rumor going on, I'll start one. The hell with it. I have had people with clean time more than me be my sponsor. I have had people on the world level for a sponsor. It didn't improve the quality of my recovery. It didn't get me a position. Mr. Bill has a few years less clean time than I do. And when I looked at it, I said, well, he's bigger than me. I had seen him at many conventions, and the one thing I noticed about him, and I hadn't played golf with him, so I didn't know, that every time he seen somebody, he made it a point to give them love. He treated everyone with the same graciousness and love. No matter what they looked like, no matter how they smelt, no matter what they were wearing, he didn't check their checkbooks first to see if they were worthy. He didn't ask them what kind of job they had. He just gave them hugs and told him he loved them. And I needed some nurturing because I'd been clean for years and had never really had any nurturing. You women are just unbelievable. I wish like hell that the men in this program could get together like the women do and nurture each other and bond like they do. Jay Bird from California and I were talking today up in my room about how the women just seem to pull together and love on each other, except if they're chasing the same guy. And fortunately, in my sponsorship tree, we have a lot of that. Every year we do a sponsorship weekend in Gainesville, Florida, where everybody that Mr. Bill sponsors and everybody that they sponsor and the guys they sponsor all to go to Gainesville for a weekend, and it's men on men. And we cry a lot, and we get real, and we share the stuff that is totally unacceptable to share in meetings because people ain't ready for it. And we dump, and we get nurtured back to health. And there's a lot of big gorillas that come to that meeting, tough guys, bikers, pistol carriers, that just melt and cry like teddy bears. And little skinny fart smellers, nose pickers that think they're bad. And sit around, don't touch me. I ain't hugging you. Don't hug me. Shake my hand. And smack them around and hug them. And it works. And somebody says, well, does your sponsor come to that? And I said, sometimes. They said, what about their sponsor? I said, sometimes. I said, what about their sponsor? Maybe. What about their sponsor? Maybe. What about their sponsor? Maybe. What about their sponsor? I said, I think he's at an AA convention. I said, but it's amazing how the clean time on one side of the family tree will go like this, and then on the other side of the tree, it'll go like this, and then it starts going down again. Because it ain't about time. It's about honesty. It's about being real. It's about being loving and caring and supportive. I even love the guys I sponsor that I don't like. I have one guy I sponsor. He goes to Illinois to do this paint job for a month. And I told him when he asked me to sponsor him, he says, I was wondering if you'd be my sponsor. I said, well, I'll tell you what, only on a condition. He said, what's that? I said, well, you got to make a choice. Either it's your girlfriend or me to sponsor you. But I'm not going to compete with both. He said, why? I said, I don't want to be involved in the sickness. And you've been trying to get out. Here's your excuse. You don't have a gun, do you? Oh, people sneak up on me sometimes. There are people that still resent me. And so he says, well, I already told her that it's over and I got to work on me. So all of a sudden, after he's in Illinois for a couple of weeks, I hear rumors around the area that he's bought airline tickets for a lady. And then he calls me a week or so later, says, hey, how you doing? I said, okay, how are you? Fine. I said, what have you been doing? He said, oh, I've been driving around Chicago all day. I said, well, what possessed you to do that? He said, oh, you won't believe it. Michelle came into town. I said, you're kidding. How did that happen? I said, call me when you get back if you got your step done. If you don't have your step done, don't call me. Because he'd been making a career out of it. I really don't have time to sponsor people that don't want it, because there's other people that do. I'm not in Narcotics Anonymous to build a name for myself. I had a bad enough one when I got here. I'm here to save my ass, not impress anybody. So if the guys I sponsor aren't willing to do what I have to do to stay clean, they can get another sponsor. It's not going to hurt my feelings. Maybe somebody else can reach them. Maybe we don't click. That's okay. I can still love them. If nobody's told you today that they love you, it ain't my fault. Take a look at your program. Maybe they don't know how. Maybe that's our responsibility to teach them. I have an 8-year-old son that was swimming, and there was a little duck in the water, and he was going to help the little baby duck swim, and he got on top of it and drowned it. So we sent him away. No. So he said, well, come on, Dad, we got to go bury it. And I said, no, we don't want to bury it. He said, why? I said, because what you got to do with the little duck is, see, nature heals itself. We'll just take the duck out here and we'll put him in the woods, and then other animals that are hungry will come and eat the duck, and then they'll survive. And sometimes little ducks die so bigger birds can fly. And he said, oh. And so we waited a few days and we went out to where the duck was, and it was all gone. And I said, see, now am I the best dad in the whole world? And he said, I don't know. I haven't met all the other dads yet. A little over 11 years ago, I was chair of the Chesapeake Potomac region in Narcotics Anonymous up in the Baltimore area. And I was chairing a regional meeting. And this young lady happened to sit down at the end of the table, who was a literature chair that I'd never really spoke to. And she looked at me, and so I winked at her. And she winked back. And after the meeting, there was a dinner and then a speaker meeting and then a dance, and she asked me to dance, and we danced all night long. And during the middle of it, it was very hot in there, and I asked her, well, let's go outside and get some air. And we were out getting some air, and I said, well, why don't we go over there underneath that bridge and get some air, and there won't be as much traffic and people, and we can talk. And she said, no, thank you. And I said, why not? And she said, well, I ain't got enough clean time for that. I said, well, I'll lend you a couple of years. And she said, no, thank you. I'm looking for quality clean time. And I was living in Virginia then, and right after that I was making many trips to Baltimore. And the next thing that happened is I divorced my wife. We moved in together, and we're still together. And she gave me back my unquality clean time and got her own. And she has been the greatest gift that you people have ever given me. She had 2 boys, and I always wanted a family, and I had no idea the hell I was in for. A few years back, they finally got clean. And then they started using again. Last January, we kicked them out of the house. Told them come back when they're ready. And they said, yeah, right, like we need help. And we knew they were using. We kept finding pipes that weren't theirs. We kept finding baggies that weren't theirs. We kept finding everything that wasn't theirs. And my wife said, they're not theirs. Have a little faith. Trust somebody once in a while. You're too quick to jump the gun. And then one night, they were supposed to be in at a certain time, and they weren't, so she beeped them. And they called back and said, well, you said we could stay out till 12:30. She said, no, I didn't. Yes, I did. Yes, you did. We both heard you. I said, okay, you can stay out another half hour, and I want your ass in the house. Well, an hour and a half went by, and they weren't. So we looked on the caller ID. She called the number. They answered the phone. And she said, where are you at? He said, don't fucking worry about it. And she says, I'm not. Click. And the next morning, we threw him on the street. A little over 6.5 months ago, Jay, who's 21 now, called. He said, I really need to talk to you. I said, when was the last time you ate? He said, about 3 days ago. I said, your mom will now be by to get you in a little while. We went over, picked him up, took him to a restaurant and sat down. He said, I want some help. I said, I'll get you some help, and I'll help you. But you got to get real with me. And I thought he was going to say, yeah, well, I've been smoking some pot and drinking, about every day. And he looks at me and said, Dad, I've been doing heroin every day for the last 6 months. My asshole just totally fell out. I said, it's okay. You never have to use again. You're welcome home. He came home, he got a sponsor, started working the steps. I put him to work with me. He hasn't missed a day of work. He hasn't missed a day of I love you. He hasn't missed a day of participating in our family. And I'm real grateful for that. And he's here tonight. My other son, Jimmy, isn't an addict, and he'd tell you that in the New York Minute. One night, about 5 months ago, Jay comes beating on our bedroom door. Dad, the cops are outside. I said, what? He said, the cops are here. And I looked out the window, and there were the headlights. And so I'm heading to the door to answer the door, and Jay says, Dad, I'm not here. I said, the fuck you ain't. And the officer says, we have your son down in so-and-so county detention. Here's the phone number. You need to make a phone call. So Mary called down, and lady says, are you going to come down and pick up your son? She says, can I talk to him? She said, sure. And got him on the phone. She says, well, you did it this time, didn't you? I said, yeah. I said, well, you want me to come and get you? Yeah. Well, you willing to go to treatment? For what? I ain't got a problem. I said, okay, well, just stay where you are. Goodbye. Click. A little while later, we get a phone call. Ma'am, if you don't come down and get your son, we're going to have to lock him up for the evening. You'll have to be in court in Annapolis tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. She said, I'll be in court tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. We went down to court. Jimmy walked out, said, I think I'm ready to go to treatment. So we didn't have any insurance. But I'd worked in treatment for years, and we started pulling some strings, and we got him a bed for Monday morning. So he came in the house, said, can I use the phone? And I said, sure. And he picked up the phone, and I went in my room and pushed my memo thing, because I can record everything. And I recorded these conversations. And he says, you have no right to mess with my privacy. I said, you're in my private home, goddammit, and I will. You're messing with my life. They knocked on my door, pal, not yours. This ain't your home. Nobody that lives here uses. I'll tape anything I want. If you don't want me to know it, don't use the phone. I don't care if you like me or not. Don't mess with me. I've already been where you are. You haven't been where I am. And I don't need what you got. So throughout the weekend, he was being off to himself. Sneaky. Sunday night, we decided to have a family meeting. And he says, and he was very respectful, which was very abnormal. He says, I really don't feel that I need to go to treatment. He said, I just think I was going through a phase. And my wife Mary looked at him, she said, you've been going through that damn phase for 7 years. He says, well, I don't think I'm an addict. And I said, well, Jimmy, I can accept that you're not an addict. That's not a problem for me to accept. And if you don't think you're an addict and you don't want to go to treatment, that's fine. But what you're telling me is if you're not an addict, you're a criminal. So if you're a criminal, pack your goddamn bags because I'm taking you back to jail. And you'll do the time for your crime, period. No, but Dad, I think treatment would help me. He went. He now runs that treatment center. No. Within a few days after he was there and detoxed and came down, he called home. He said, I'm sorry. He said, I'm sorry for everything I ever put y'all through. And I really love you guys, and I want my family back. He's back home. He's been clean ever since. And he's here tonight. And they're both moving to their own apartment December the 1st. Yes! They got jobs. They got their own furniture. They paid for it themselves. They got sponsors. They got friends in Narcotics Anonymous. They go to meetings every day, and they like it. And they like it because they want what we have to offer, not because they have to. In 1985 or 86, something like that, my first sponsor from Dallas called me on the phone and said, I'm coming to Baltimore. I said, for what? He said, we're going to the wall. I said, what wall? I'm not Jewish. He said, the Vietnam Memorial Wall. I said, you sure are. I'm not. He said, yes, you are. It's a we program. And he came and we did. I had looked for Ole ever since I came back for Nam to tell him about Narcotics Anonymous. Never to find him. We got to the wall and this guy brought this big green thick book out full of names and he said, can I help you? And it never dawned on me. And I said, yeah, I'm trying to find my friend. And he asked me his name and I gave him Ole's name. And he looked in the book and he says, is this your name? Your friend? And I said, yeah. And he took me to the wall and inscribed it off on a piece of paper and I just dropped to my knees and cried like I never cried before. After that, Bob introduced me to his friend and we cried and we hugged and it was tough. On the way out there were some guys in a tent that were staying there for the POW and missing in action. And they had a little can that you could throw donations in and I threw some chump change in and he said, write down the unit you were with and I wrote it down and he came around from behind it and gave me a hug and said, welcome home. It's the first time that anybody had ever told me welcome home. I still didn't know where the hell I was. All those years in Narcotics Anonymous, and I still hadn't surrendered totally because I was still carrying so much garbage. People used to say, what's wrong with you, man? How come you can't get a grip? Well, I'm a Vietnam vet. Don't fuck with me. And that was my excuse. Vietnam didn't do to me. My parents didn't do to me. My teachers didn't do to me. I did to me. Because I never knew that it was okay to get a grip on life and accept the fact that I'm okay. Every time I ever spoke at a convention, I either had on a suit or a tux. So I could impress you that I've got it together. I looked at my suit and I said, that's not comfortable. Especially when I've grown out of it. I feel comfortable. I feel okay with me. I have hurt people in Narcotics Anonymous. I'm sorry. I have made amends to people that I've harmed in Narcotics Anonymous. I've made amends to people that I've harmed before I got here, and I've still got amends to make to people in Narcotics Anonymous. And when it's my higher power's will, those opportunities will prevail themselves. I don't know if it's ever happened to you, but it's happened to me several times. You'll be in a meeting, you'll say something spiritual, like I do all the time. And after you finish sharing after the meeting, you can see them coming from the other side of the room. And you know they're coming directly at you. Hey, Marty, I sure did like what you had to say. Could you give me a ride back to the halfway house? I gotta be in by 10:30. And the nice thing about Narcotics Anonymous is you can think anything you want to. You can look him dead in the eye and think to yourself, you stupid goof. Who the hell do you think you're talking to? I'm Marty E. from Out of a Tree. Give you a ride home? Not a chance, pal. You stink, you haven't had a bath, and you definitely don't have the right wearing apparel. And probably don't have any clean time. And if I take you home, I won't be able to get to Denny's where all the who's in Narcotics Anonymous who is going to be. And the nice thing about Narcotics Anonymous is I can think every bit of that as long as I say, sure, pal, I'll give you a ride. I work for myself today because I can. June 1, supposedly, if it's my higher power's will, I'm supposed to take over as a director of a detox program of 100 beds for the homeless in Baltimore. It's a ship, and all my life I've been waiting on my ship to come in. It's a ship that was off the coast of Vietnam. They started an NA meeting on it. They asked me to come and chair at the meeting. The first night I went, they took me around the ship, and the first place they took me to was the morgue. And I fell apart. That ship now has 7 meetings a week. Noon, 8 o'clock, midnight on weekends. I'm not promoting the ship. What I'm promoting is it's amazing what we can do as recovering addicts that give a shit, that take responsibility to reach out and make things happen to help other addicts. I don't care what fellowship you go to. That's not important to me. My home is in Narcotics Anonymous. Since I walked through the doors of Narcotics Anonymous, I have needed no other therapy than the therapeutic value of one addict helping another. I don't have a therapist. I don't know which scars I need to pull off. I haven't had to pay anybody for my recovery since I got here. Because I walked in here, I sat down, and I accepted the 12 steps of Narcotics Anonymous. Some people aren't willing to do that yet. They need to get a therapist first. Or be here for a while and not work the steps and then get a therapist. So they can come back later, get a sponsor, and work the damn steps. There is nothing that I can't tell my sponsor. And if I can't tell him, I need to get another one. If your sponsor isn't working for you, fire him. You worried about hurting his feelings? You better worry about saving your ass. I've fired many sponsors, not one of them used. And that pissed me off. I never thought that I was worthy to get clean. The reason I couldn't be around my family was I didn't feel worthy of their love for me. They'd tell me they love me, and I'd say, I love you too. And then I'd say, what does that mean? to myself. You don't have a right to be loved. You're a puke. You're a jerk. You know you're going to pull a scam on them. Leave them alone, Marty. Stay out of their life. Because all I ever did was run in and out of their life. I'd call home when I needed something. Today I call home to tell my mom that I love her. I don't need anything. I've already taken everything from her. She's got nothing left. I'm not in the will. I am the will. My mom asked me one night, she said, was I a good mother? I said, Mom, you were the best. You were so loving. And the little stories you would tell about our grandparents and where we came from. And my mom was always very nurturing. My father never used in front of us. We only seen after he used. But he would never use in front of us. He never used profanity in front of us. I learned this shit from y'all. I don't care what you got to do. If you need to go get a therapist, go buy 10 of them. If you need to go to other fellowships, go to 40 of them. Find one that fits and plant your ass there. But damn it, go somewhere. And if you come to Narcotics Anonymous to learn our traditions, that way you can feel worthy to stay here. Learn the steps so you can participate in your own recovery instead of having some therapist do it for you. I'm not afraid to be me today. I don't have anything hidden anymore. I got rid of it in my 4th and 5th step. If you have something new that you've done, you think you're going to surprise somebody because there's only so many things that the human mind and body can think of and perform, and they were all done before we got here. We ain't done nothing new. But if you think you got it, please call me. I haven't heard anything new since 1975. There's only so many things that can be done. You're not that damn bad. I really don't believe that HP made any junk, trash, or accidents. There's nobody sitting in this room tonight that doesn't have a right to their chair. That's your chair. Be proud of it. At the World Convention, Mr. Bill and I got a bunch of Vietnam vets together that have never been to the wall, that needed somebody to hold their hand. And we took them over to D.C. one day to the wall, and we took a video camera. And we had each guy go up to the wall and find his buddy and helped him inscribe his buddy's name off on a piece of paper, and then turn around to us and to the camera and tell us something about their friend that they'd lost. We couldn't do that if we were using. We wouldn't give a shit. Some of these guys cried for the first time in their life. Some of these guys got in touch. They did some 9th step work for the first time in their recovery. Man, it's okay to love people. You might not like what they're about. You might not like how they look. Like I told my son, what the hell are you wearing? What business is it of mine? Hell, I'm scared to death. You'll go to my mom's and say, show me some pictures of Dad when he was young. And I'd have these great thoughts like, but Jimmy, I want people to respect you like I do. He said, Dad, I respect myself. New concept, Dad. You say it all the time. I was talking to a guy out in the hall today about his 9th step and his 8th step. And he said, what if making amends would harm yourself? I said, what does the step say? He said, except when to do so would injure them or others. I said, you're not included. You're not included in that. That's the humility process. If you have an HP, you know you're going to be taken care of if you do the right things. Every time I have been willing to confront what I need to confront, I haven't had to confront it. It's been removed from my life. My higher power has stepped in and taken care of it. Except when to do so would injure them or others. That means if you did something that's going to put your ass away for the next 40 years, you don't get up in the morning and rush down without thinking and say, well, I'm doing my 9th step, and have your ass locked up forever while your 3-year-old kid grows up without a father. That ain't what that means. Some of that is becoming willing to make those amends and making them where possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. There are some amends that I can't make. The only place I could make them was in my 4th and 5th step, with me, another addict, and the God of my understanding. Sometimes that's as far as you can go. Narcotics Anonymous is alive and well. I hear people say all the time, all around the country, you go to these places and they'll say, well, there's no sobriety in Narcotics Anonymous. And I say, that's true. And I love Nancy Reagan, but I love all anorexics. And that little quacko shit she came up with, just say no to drugs. Can you imagine that? Having your back to the wall, you're sweating, you got diarrhea, you're waiting on the dope man. He finally shows up 3 hours late because sometimes they like to stand around the corner and watch you sweat. And he finally gets there and say, nothing for me, thanks. Asking an addict to just say no is like asking a manic depressant to just cheer up. It don't happen. Detox does not get any addict clean. If detox would get you clean and give you recovery, you wouldn't need Narcotics Anonymous. You go detox, leave, and shut up. And it's done. Shape up, there's still time. God damn it! Stupid son of a bitch, what's wrong with you? That ain't it! If you don't work the damn steps, you do it all again. And again. Sooner or later, each of us will get high our last time. It'll be the time that kills us or the time that gets us clean. And nobody can make that decision for us. No matter what we go through, they can show you all the films. Look what you're doing to your liver. Oh my God, my liver! Well, I'm using who gives a fuck about my liver? And I always loved that. How did you feel about that? I spoke in Catskill Mountains in New York, and this lady came up to me after I was through, and she says, I want you to know that I was appalled at everything you had to say. I said, appalled? She said, at everything. I said, everything? She said, everything. I do not agree with anything you had to say. I said, lady, I spoke for over 2 hours. She said, and I am very angry with you. I said, lady, I spoke for over 2 hours. She said, I know. I said, so who are you pissed at? I didn't make her stay. If you got it together that well, get up and leave. Hell, you ain't got to listen to me. I don't know everything. I was just asked to speak. I'm doing it. I didn't say I know everything. I just know what I know. And it might be different from what you know. And maybe one day I'll have to listen to your shit. And I'll think, damn, he thinks he knows everything. And I do think I know everything. I think I know everything I know. I know everything that you people taught me. I just don't know everything that you know yet. And that's why I have to stick around to find out what it is. It's good that Whistler's mother's here. I don't care who you have for a higher power. Please don't make it important to tell me. I was in a meeting one night and a guy gets up behind the podium and he says, I'd like to thank my higher power for allowing me to be here. Shit, we let you come in, pal. Who I choose to call the Lord Jesus Christ. Oh, well, that was special. No traditions violated there. And then another guy gets up. I'd like to thank my higher power, Buddha. Cool. We're getting good now. Variety higher powers. That's what I like in Narcotics Anonymous. And so I got up because I do that. And I said, well, I'd like to thank my higher power, who I choose to call Toto. And if this shit keeps up, I'm going to click my heels and get the hell out of here. It's not important for me to know who your higher power is. It's important for you to know. Keep it to yourself. It'll help you. Anonymity is the spiritual foundation of all our traditions. And I really believe that goes hand in hand with HP. I had to go see an attorney a little while back because people were screwing up my financial life. And so I went to this bankruptcy attorney. And he got us in there, and my wife had talked to him on the phone and gave him a little history. And so I get there, and he says, so I understand that you're an addict in Narcotics Anonymous. And I said, yeah, feeling very proud. He says, and you have a higher power? And I said, yeah. He says, where do you think Jeffrey Dahmer is going to go when he dies? And I said, uh-oh. I said, in the ground? He said, I'm speaking of his soul. And immediately when I looked at him, I knew he had those thin blue lips. He said, I need to witness to you. I says, oh yeah? He says, having a higher power is okay, but it's not going to get you to the gates of heaven. I said, oh yeah? And he went on this damn spiel for about 20 minutes, like I hadn't heard it in airports before. And he goes on, and he should have went to On and On Anonymous. He wouldn't stop. And so after he was finally finished, he says, okay, let's get down to business now. And he starts talking about the bankruptcy shit. And then I said something, I asked him a question about this little fraud deal I absolutely on purpose did on a credit card with 12 years clean. I know none of you have ever done anything like that. With clean time, that is. Because you're better than me. And you got the right higher power that guided you. And I said, well, what do you think I should do about this credit card thing? And he put his hand in his head and he says, well, damn. He says, geez, I don't know. I said, well, do you think maybe I should hire an attorney? I got me a preacher. And this is much more than 10%. My loving wife went through hell in her addiction, and she's been through hell in her recovery, and she's also been through heaven. She graduates from Anne Arundel Community College with her associates this year. Next week, she will find out if she's been accepted at Johns Hopkins School of Nursing for her bachelor's. Four years from then, I'll be playing golf on a daily basis. That lady has raised these kids, tried to stay clean, work her steps, sponsor people, go to school full time, and made the dean's list every semester. She is the most stable person I know in Narcotics Anonymous emotionally. When I need a rock, I lean on her because she's my rock. She thinks things through. She's not compulsive like me. I had a tad of a gambling problem from time to time. Well, not that often. It was a long stretch. We had to move because people wouldn't let me win. A few months back, I exhibited professional gambling procedure again. And we had to move again. A little while back, I won some. And she said, problem solved. No, I'm just kidding. My addiction can come out of my neck, my ears, my lips at any given moment, in any direction. It's not about drugs, folks. It's not about drugs. It's about life. It's about dealing with what's in front of us. I'm not wrapped like those people outside the door. I don't think like them. I don't act like them. I don't feel like them. I don't deal with anything in life like they deal with it. Situations in my life normally are not situations. They are fucking crises. Not as bad as they used to be. Last night I couldn't find my 8-year-old son. He had been picked up from this hotel, murdered, and buried down by the river before I even got to one of the committee people to ask him, has any of y'all seen my kid? I had figured it all out. Terrified because I run with everything. My wife doesn't. Fortunately for us, there's somebody stable at a given moment in one area of recovery where the other one isn't. Sometimes she's not too stable in something, and fortunately our higher power allows the other one to be. If not, we wouldn't be together for the last 11 years. Come to find out, my 2 other older sons took him across the street to a hockey game. I have so many gifts. I have so much love. My friend Lazaro is here. You always have to mention Cubans. Mexicans, Jews, blacks. The nice thing about Narcotics Anonymous and our disease is they didn't sell white dope to white people, black dope to black people, and red dope to red people. I went to pick up my 30-day key tag at a meeting, and I was asked to leave because I had blonde hair. Fortunately, our fellowship has grown. Fortunately, I can walk in any meeting in Narcotics Anonymous, even if it's a specialty meeting, which I don't agree with, but I'll walk in it just because I don't agree with it. I was at a convention, and they had a sign up, and this isn't against gay people or anything else. I don't give a shit who you sleep with. I'm only concerned about who I do. And there was a meeting that said, gay, lesbian, bisexual meeting. And I said, damn, think about it. If they would have just added heterosexual, we could have had a Narcotics Anonymous meeting. I don't go to meetings because it's white, male, heterosexual meetings. I go to meetings because they're Narcotics Anonymous. I listen to gay people, black people, Jewish people, Cubans, Mexicans like my sponsor. It don't matter whose end you came out of and what town or state or province or London, England. I met somebody today, I'm from London, England. I'm sorry. Brought your damn weather with you, didn't you, pal? It's not important that you're from London, it's important that you're an addict, and I'm glad you're here. Doesn't matter where we're from, what walk of life. I haven't outgrown my need for change and hope I never do. I just hope I have the ability to change some. I don't have to impress anybody today. All I really want to do is improve me. That's my biggest obstacle. The biggest obstacle I have as a parent is to become unnecessary. That's all. I know y'all want me to shut up because you want to start dancing and getting new relationships. I've never lowered myself to that level. I can remember doing the 14th step. That's when you fantasize about the 13th step. I would like to thank the committee for asking me to be here. You guys have been so gracious, loving, caring, not to each other, but to me. But after Sunday, y'all will all be friends again. Y'all did a hell of a job. Amazing what a bunch of dope fiends can put together. The love that you can bring under one roof. And it's not so much what we get here. What's so important is what we take out of here to those folks that didn't get to be here. That's what's important. What's important for me is to take something from each and every one of you, other than your purse, to take some of that love back home that I forget sometimes when I'm in my home group. Because it's real easy to come here and listen to some of you folks share in the workshops that I don't know and say, damn, that guy's good. Damn, I would like what he's about. And then I didn't even know anything about him. Had I known anything, I probably wouldn't have went in the room. That son of a bitch is sharing. I'll go to a different meeting tonight. I know none of y'all ever did that. I'm sicker than you. I've done that. I don't do it as often. Sometimes I go to conventions now and I sit through the whole meeting of people that I don't like to listen to. Like all of you have done tonight. Just for me. So I would feel worthy. And I do. And I feel loved. And I feel cared for. You people have no idea what you've given me this weekend. A guy gave me a poem one time. It said, did you waste a day or lose it? And was it well or poorly spent? And did you leave a ray of sunshine or a scar of discontent? And as you close your eyes in slumber, do you think your higher power would say, you deserve another tomorrow by the message you carried today? I talk to my higher power every morning, every night, sometimes in the middle of the day, sometimes 4 and 5 and 6 times. Sometimes I get on my nubbies and sometimes I don't. And then after I pray, I try to do the hardest part of that prayer, and that's to be still and listen. And that's the hardest part. Waiting for the knowledge of my higher power's will for me and to carry that out. And I really think my higher power's will for me isn't to get that refrigerator. It's to be at peace with myself, whether I get it or not. If nobody's told you that they loved you today, maybe they don't know how. I don't love you for who you are. I love you for what you are. I care for your families. A lot of times we get resentments with people. Fortunately, what you people have given me, you've given me the opportunity to grow. Sometimes we can't forget the past, but you people have taught me how to forgive it. And I'm truly grateful for that. And you've given me hope for the future. I love you. Thank you.